industry. ESG is one facet of it. I would say the broader market is sustainable investing, and that's exciting because it's really changing the way I believe how we manage and allocate capital towards factors such as conservation, towards education, well-being, towards climate, um, energy efficiency, for example, how we think about human rights issues. They're called ESG and impact services. For those of you who don't know, ESG stands for environmental social governance, and it's a way of thinking about how do we invest our capital that manages environmental social governance characteristics for better. So we work specifically with the investment industry to help them understand ESG factors. Are they a risk and potentially an opportunity, for example, in how they invest, what they invest in, the sectors that they look at? How do you manage that risk? And today, management of ESG risk is very much developing and being transformed, I would say, with regard to new ways of thinking about how we manage and quantify and price that risk. So we support our clients who are primarily the asset managers, could be also private equity funds. They could be also individuals, for example, running a family office portfolio, or it could be a charity or foundation. But what is common across the industry today is that we are looking for a way to better manage and understand our environmental social governance risk factors and opportunities. And really, that's what we do at Ogier. So we can help think about how do you develop your strategy in your asset management firm. What does that mean for your portfolio in terms of what types of metrics will help us understand how well or not so well we're doing, for example, on ESG. And today that storyboard, if we call it that, is informed by different external data information points, which can be captured, for example, in sustainability reports or what's also called responsible investment reports. So we are looking at information that's been disclosed by companies to try and understand that and interpret that information for our clients to understand the ESG risks and opportunity set. So we work with our clients across that, and ESG is very much an exciting industry. ESG is one facet of it. I would say the broader market is sustainable investing, and that's exciting because it's really changing the way I believe how we manage and allocate capital towards factors such as conservation, towards education, well-being, towards climate, energy efficiency, for example, how we think about human rights issues, the gamut of issues that we are trying to solve for to create a sustainable planet, as we know, is wide. So sustainable investing is really about how do we develop solutions and better manage our portfolios to allocate capital towards those issues and help the societal and environmental failures that we see today on our planet. So that's how we think about it. And for us, we're mainly focused on working with the investment industry to help understand the challenge and the opportunity around that.
Different portfolio of issues than you wound up working in. How did you move from chemical engineering to sustainability?
Well, that was quite a bit of a journey. When I first started when this consultancy firm hired me, my colleagues there, none of them studied anything called environmental science, environmental engineering. It just didn't exist at the time. I studied in Australia, and there wasn't a subject, and there wasn't a course with any description to that effect at all. So I found myself with colleagues with various backgrounds. There was a mechanical engineer who was doing noise assessments, and there was an aeronautical engineer doing air quality modeling. And there was me working on the chemical engineering related subject areas, water treatments and all that kind of stuff. And so it was kind of a melting pot of different professions coming together to work on environmentally related subject areas. That's how I made that switch. Yeah. And then from environment to sustainability was even more convoluted. So as I explained just now, I worked many years in environmental protection, and then I started doing reporting. And reporting, following the GRI guideline, does cover a lot more than just environmental issues. So I started looking into different issues, the human side of things, the social side of things, and then I started working for companies who are interested in working in those areas. So it was sort of a natural then transition from the environmental team to the sustainability team.
I'm sure that many of the participants will share in that natural progression that you just outlined, Simeon. Could you tell us, did you have a mentor or a coach that helped you move in that direction?
Yes, I did. My boss back in the power sector when I was working there. She basically started me on. So back a step. The GRI at the time was looking for someone to help in writing a sector supplement for the power sector. So she put me up to it. So I started working with GRI, and I think that's when my perspective changed from just environment and expanded into the wider kind of sustainability field. And the work at GRI was an eye opener for me, and it was really, I think, the point when I really expanded my scope of work off from environment to other subject areas. So I sat in day-long meeting with experts from other subject areas. So there were human rights experts, there were investors, and there were NGOs, and there were labor practices experts. And so we debate on subject areas, what should go into the reporting framework and what should not. And from there, I think I learned a lot about the other subject areas in sustainability, and I kind of brought all of that back into my work.
A good first job. I suppose I don't think about it that way. I think if I were starting again, I'm thinking through my journey. I think going into a role that gives you a very good overview understanding of sustainability. If sustainability is your focus, understanding sustainability from many different client angles is helpful. So that's in consulting, you do learn that, and you do learn the fundamentals of consulting work, from strategy to project management, which are applicable even if you decide to come out of sustainability, right? So that's important. A good first job, I would leave that to the individual to tell me, because I think you need to be very much, you don't take a job for the sake of a job, perhaps. It's trying to understand, what is the intention here? What are you trying to solve by joining this firm or this business? What value are you bringing? I think understanding that will help you answer that question. Is this a good job for you? Does this get you to where you want to be to make that change in the sustainable economy? If not, perhaps it's not the right for you right now, But I think it's about you answering that question for yourself and trying to understand your own internal compass as to why you're applying to that good job in the external world, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. And Simeon, same question.
Yeah, a rather difficult question to answer, really. But I concur with Leonie that if the job can offer you that sort of perspective, wider perspective into what sustainability means and how it works, it will be useful. And you know, my path, as I explained, I started with consultancy, and I do think consultancy does offer you a wide range of perspectives, and it's a very good training ground. But having said that, if you are going for consultancy as your first job, you also need to look at you know, what sort of company that is. You know, there are companies who are very focused on narrowly on certain issues, and you don't want to be restricting yourself in that. But you know, if it's your first job, then I think any job in this field cannot be bad. I think it's what you make of it. If you end up in a small firm, then try to get the most out of it and see how, and try to get your hands dirty and you know, and learn as much as you can. And if you see other opportunities, you can then switch. So I'm really thinking out loud now. But yeah, I don't think that's a very easy question to answer. And I wish you well, you know, in finding your good first job.